sign that guy up. Have you turned in your application yet? Excellent. What company was that? All right, for you, because you look like the kind of guy who would really appreciate, should I save this one? Kinect Disneyland Adventure? Should I give you something else? I just don't see you in the Kinect Disneyland Adventures series. I don't know why that is. How about Kinect Sports?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Can somebody pass that along to him? I don't want to hurt anybody. I'll walk over there. I'm making the camera guy crazy. Other good ideas? Yes.
It's the next step toward the singularity.
Next. Okay. So I don't mean to quash the idea, but I'd like you to think in the theme of an accelerator. And why is an accelerator useful to you to help you with your business? Yes.
Unconventional ways to do conventional tools.
Say that one more time.
Unconventional ways of doing conventional tools.
Innovation. Innovation yet again. All right. I'm gonna, innovation twice on the list. I'm good with that. And Fable is a great game. You'll love that. Dwayne. Yes.
It'll help us figure out distribution.
It'll help you figure out
Distribution. We'll want to figure that out.
Yes. So Dwayne talks about business plan and the notion that you will get advice and mentorship that will help you move your business in the right direction. In this case, he was in specific, he was referring to distribution channels and how you can get your product to market. Excellent. Dwayne, you feeling good about Kinect Disneyland? Or?
I have 4 boys.
4 boys. 4 boys coming your way. Yes, and you had an idea too. Sorry about that. Careful, you could get hurt at this session tonight.
Okay, let's start how the opportunity to make the future.
The ability to
Make the future.
make the future, to define the future.
Yes.
A lot of visionaries in the room tonight. Wow, this room is loaded with visionaries. I like that one. How about Kinect Sports for you? You into sports?
2. Can I spell? Do you have it?
Wow! Whoa! JP! Tough crowd. Let me see if I've got Kinect Sports too. Looky there. Your very own version of Kinect Sports 2. Don't ask anymore because I only have the old one now. Yes.
To get development for the Kinect outside of just the big corporations, to encourage independent development and fresh ideas in our industry, get them in.
Startups.
Yes.
Startups.
Yes.
Yes. To help startups. To help. Are you guys all startups, or I feel like I saw somebody from American Express back there, and I know there's a Boeing guy in here. But yes, to help startups. That's clearly one of the goals of the Accelerator, and that was a great top 10 item. How about you? Joyride, Connectables, or Kinect Sports? None.
Joyride.
Joyride. Joyride. There we go. Could you hand that to her for me, please? Thank you, sir. Holy smokes. Other ideas? Yes.
Also replace the potential replacement for the keyboard and the mouse. It helps.
A gesture recognition, a potential replacement for the keyboard and the mouse. That's another great idea. Can we think along the lines of what this accelerator is going to offer? I have 2 left, and I'm looking for canned answers. I guess I should have probably talked to the crowd. Who is going to help you guys when you become part of the Kinect Accelerator? Who is going to? Yes, sir. You've had your hand up. Yes. Networking, socializing with people in the industry, mentors, the mentors that are part of the program. That's one of the key aspects of the Kinect Accelerator that you'll be able to benefit from. And in fact, the Kinect Accelerator is unique in that not only will you be exposed to the standard, the folks who are entrepreneurs, angel investors, things of that nature, but Microsoft will be providing a host of folks to come over and mentor you in either working on the products, work with you on your business planning, and what have you. So you'll get people from outside Microsoft and people from inside Microsoft. In fact, there are even people from JP's group who developed both the Kinect for Windows sensor, and we'll have people on the Xbox side as well who will be partaking in the Kinect Accelerator. There to help you be successful with your ideas and your business. Other ideas? We have 2 more good ideas. Yes?
To help expand what oh god, I just lost it. To help expand the ideas of what a video game peripheral or console can actually do in the context of society as a whole. So, am I just being...
No, I think that's great. Innovation again, right? You're talking about how you can use this thing to innovate and do things that you've never been able to do that's going to benefit society. Really, it truly is enabling things that people never imagined until this thing came out. I have one specific one I'm looking for, and I only have 1 game left, so I'm going to save it. I hope you're okay with that. Yes?
Encourage developers that wouldn't otherwise normally develop.
Encourage developers that wouldn't otherwise normally develop for the Kinect. Absolutely. We are trying to draw in the development community to support the Kinect and what it can offer. Another great idea, but not the one I was looking for. Yes?
Technical support.
Technical support? Absolutely. There will be technical support as part of the Kinect Accelerator to help you when you bump into issues and bump your head and need some assistance in that way. Another great idea, but not the one I'm looking for. Yes?
Exposure to venture capital.
Exposure to venture capital. As you know, at the end of the Kinect Accelerator, we will have an investor demo day. So all of you will have the opportunity to, those of you in the program, will have the opportunity to get up in front of the investors, the investment community, and pitch your ideas in hopes of getting follow-on funding. Excellent, excellent top 10, but not the one I was looking for. Yes?
Create new products for Microsoft?
Gotta give that demand.
Absolutely, create new products for Microsoft. Yeah, you bet. Come up with some great ideas. I love it. That's another great idea, and definitely not the one I was looking for. Yes, sir.
Get 1 step closer to minority.
Get 1 step closer to the Minority Report. Absolutely. The possibility is there, yes.
I see it as a potential significant expansion to the market that I would otherwise take my product to.
An expansion of your existing marketplace. Tying, this actually has come in many of the applications where people have thought they've got a business in a certain area and they realize that the Kinect is an excellent addition to their product offering. Great idea, but I got to keep rolling because you still haven't. You already gave an idea. Anybody over here? Yes. Do you have it?
I think so. We're going to have a direct connection to Microsoft, which is a gatekeeper with a lot of the Kinect stuff, like the Xbox Marketplace and all things like that, right?
That is so close. No, it is so not right. That's a great answer, though. Absolutely, a direct connection to Microsoft. You know, one of the benefits, and it's already been happening, just the cities we've been visiting, people have been coming up with their ideas. Maybe they're online, maybe they're not offline. I met with a gentleman tonight who's sitting in this audience who was like, well, you know, is the Kinect Accelerator right for you? I'm not sure, but maybe something else is. Why don't you talk to this guy? So we've been connecting people already. It's happening as we speak. You still haven't found the one that I was really looking for. So I guess I'm going to get to take this game, the old Kinect Sports, home to my family. I'm just kidding. I'll give it away to somebody. But the last and most important thing is you get to work with me. There's not a lot of agreement in the room on this. I'm very concerned. You know what? I'll phrase that a different way. We are going to have fun. It is going to be hard work in the Kinect Accelerator. I guarantee that you will put in more energy and effort than you possibly have done. I don't know if I'll say ever in your life, but Russell Benaroya is going to come up and talk about his experience in the local Techstars Seattle program. But we are going to have fun while we work hard. All right? I guarantee that. I would like to take a moment now to the first person who raises their hand. Yes, geez, that was easy. You get the game. Nice work. What did you guys think I was going to do? Bring it up on the stage? You were concerned I was going to do something humiliating to you? I wouldn't do that. That's not my style. I want to introduce a couple other people who have made it down tonight, who are important in the Seattle startup community. Number one, I would like to introduce Michael Mott. Michael Mott is a general manager from the Xbox group. Please give them a hand. I need to give them a hand because Michael is the person who wrote the check for the program. We love Michael.
All the beer, no more beer.
I forgot to clear that with him. Another very important person in this, actually, in the Seattle startup community is Andy Sack. He's the managing director of Techstars Seattle. And for him, I'm happy to be here today. So Andy Sack, thank you very much. He's going to come up and answer some questions for us, for those of you that have them, after Russell speaks. Another person I want to introduce is Jennifer Kabbalah. She is my able right-body assistant who told me to put the thing up my shirt instead of outside so it looks better. I really appreciate that. She has made this whole event happen in all these cities, and she has been fantastic. And you have her to thank for making this come together tonight. JP Wallersheim is also here. JP. So for all the development community out there, from large gigantic corporation down to the small startup, JP's focus is in that arena. He will be demoing for you later. Now I'd like to invite Russell Benaroya to come on up from the company Every Move. Russell is a Techstars alumni from Techstars Seattle 2.0, just completed here in November. And I asked Russell to talk about his experience in Techstars and why he did it, and now I'd like to let him talk. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Russell.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Who has watched American Idol here?
Yeah.
Virtually everybody. Dave Malcolm is your new Simon Cowell, for sure. And that is a bit of what you're walking into. So my name is Russell Benaroya. Let me give you a brief background on Every Move. We are a mileage rewards program for your health. We help people turn their healthy lifestyle activities into valuable rewards from their insurance company, employers, and brands. We are taking advantage of the proliferation of mobile applications and devices that are helping people more easily track their healthy activities and building a rewards layer that allows companies to confidently and systematically reward your healthy choices. That pitch took me 3 months to figure out as part of the Techstars program. We have raised $1.5 million. We are seed funded by Primera Blue Cross. We will generate about $500,000 in revenue this year, and we would not be here had it not been for our experience at Techstars. We came into Techstars thinking that we had an interesting idea, and until I faced my Simon Cowell, which was Andy Sack, did I not realize that my idea might have been good generally. My approach to solving this problem sucked. The way that I was introducing the problem sucked. And I didn't have a good structure for how I was going to spend the next 3 months mitigating what we're all trying to mitigate as startup entrepreneurs, which is risk. Taking risk out of the equation is what Techstars helps us accomplish. And we have a great opportunity to de-risk our great ideas by being constantly surrounded by great mentors like Rob Capella, who's sitting in the second row, who is one of my mentors and spent every week with me, challenging me on my assumptions, making sure that I wasn't completely, I'm moving and that's probably hard, making sure that I wasn't completely off the reservation. And what I particularly valued about my Techstars experience was the ability to get persistent feedback from a whole host of mentors that were there for no other reason than to help me be successful. Like we think that other people want to help us be successful. The reality is a lot of people in the real world would like us to fail and take pleasure in failure. And it's this sort of innate animal element. But at Techstars, it was really safe. And the people that surrounded the 10 teams that were selected to participate were really there because they genuinely cared about helping you build a great business. Whoever said the first comment, really make a difference. So the persistence of mentor feedback, very valuable. It's pattern recognition. You can hear things with consistency, and you can make changes fairly quickly. The other three things that I gained from being in Techstars, first was accountability. There is nowhere to hide when you are surrounded by 9 other teams that, while collaborative, are also competitive. We're all competitive at some level in here, and we all want to be the best. So when we get on stage, when we got on stage on November 6th, yeah, did I want to get on stage and I wanted to get off that stage and have people say, yeah, that was awesome, like, that was the best presentation. Sure, I wanted everybody to be successful, but it's competitive, so you want to make sure that you're investing as much of your effort and time as you can in that 3-month period to be your best. And all of those team members are holding you accountable to excellence. It would be embarrassing for us had we gotten up on stage on November 6th in front of 600 people and did not do justice to our peers that were also in the program, to our mentors that invested in us, and to the community that is looking at Techstars or Kinect, the Kinect Accelerator, as being a model for excellence in innovation. So first was accountability. The second was credibility. Again, before Techstars, my co-founder and I, Marcelo Calbucci, we were 2 guys that thought we were onto something neat, trying to solve a big problem, but nobody really knew about us. Nobody was paying particular attention to us. And so Techstars provided us a vehicle to get that stamp of approval and credibility. It's like probably where many of you are working today. You have a particular reputation or a resume. It's nice to have had, oh yeah, I'm in the Techstars program, or I'm in the Kinect Accelerator. It's a very easy entree to have conversations with people who normally wouldn't schedule a meeting with any of us for like 2 or 3 months because they're so busy. Oh, you're in this Accelerator program. Oh, that's great. I'd love to meet with you. Non-threatening. So it allowed us to get access to key influencers for the business problem we were trying to solve fairly quickly. And then the third one was focus. When I told you at the beginning that we are a mileage rewards program for your health, the idea was to push us to be able to communicate every move to the equivalent of an 11-year-old. Like, if an 11-year-old can't kind of grasp what we're doing, the reality is no investor is ever going to grasp what you're doing. Why? Because they don't have enough bandwidth to really understand what you're doing unless you're able to capture it for them in five seconds. So drilling down from our original thesis, which was, oh, we're a marketplace where people can share their lifestyle activities and get benefit. It was totally ambiguous and odd and awkward, but Techstars forced us to focus. And the forcing event or focus at Techstars, and in this program as well, is I've got 6 minutes on stage to tell you all about my business, from my competition to my market size, to my business model, to the problem I'm solving, to my solution, to my team. And I have to do that fairly fast. So Techstars was huge for focus. The camaraderie among our other 9 team members or teams in Techstars was incredibly special. It is a unique experience in our lives, and since these aren't official interviews, how many people are in their 20s here? Okay, how many people are in their 30s? 40s? 50s? 60s? Okay, great. So there's a broad range of experience that came to Techstars. I was on the upper end of that range, not the oldest, I'd like to say, but I was on the upper end of that range. I've been an entrepreneur for a number of years. I had started a company and sold a company, and so people ask, well, why would you want to do Techstars again? Because it is such a unique experience. How often do you get to pull the ripcord on your life and incubate in an environment for 3 months where you're all sharing a fairly rigorous boot camp experience? So the friendships and the social bonds that we made that are very special and will continue to need to be invested in to make as powerful as I know they can be, is something that I'm grateful for and appreciate Andy giving me the opportunity to participate. So that was our experience at Techstars in 5 minutes. There's a lot of infill there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for me.
Andy, why don't you come on up too? Andy Stack, hand for Andy Stack too. The man who took a risk on Mr. Benaroya. We'll entertain any types of questions that you guys have regarding the accelerator. JP will answer technical questions after he does his demonstration, so you can save that for later. Let's talk about the program. Yes?
So, what would you say is one of the critical items to success in entering the Accelerator program,
Yes.
the Techstars program?
Yeah, I would say the #1 critical item to success is vulnerability. The willingness to look in the mirror and self-reflect and know that you don't know what you're doing, and be willing to say that. And be willing to take advice from the mentors, not in a defensive way, but in a grateful way. And then you can digest if that advice is valuable to you or not. Vulnerability.
Does this work?
Yeah.
Do I need it?
Keep it close.
Yeah.
Yes, for the.
Okay. I would just add to that, it's a similar version of that, which is on day one, if you're lucky enough to be one of the 10 companies, on day one you'll be told that you were chosen because of the team, not because of your specific idea. And most of the ideas in the execution of the Techstars companies change a lot based on the feedback that they get. And probably, I think the most valuable thing, I've done 4 startups myself, sold 3 successfully. I would put if I were to do another, if I were crazy enough to do another startup, I would put it into Techstars. I think the value is off the charts, and it's because of the feedback. With that feedback, as a first or second time entrepreneur, the downside of all that feedback is what's called mental whiplash. And so it's your job to be vulnerable enough to listen, and crazy enough after hearing it all the time and being told to go this way, to put your foot down and say, this is where we're going. And I think as the entrepreneur is watching the classes, the entrepreneurs struggle with that because they're vulnerable and they're listening, and they're also they're hearing conflicting things. Somewhere in that conflict is a tension within yourself about what direction you should be going. It really teaches the entrepreneur to be like, no, I need to lead. Let's go this way.
Can you describe Microsoft's commitment to improving the technology, Kinect software and hardware technology?
You know what, I think that'll be a good question for JP. The question was about what's Microsoft's commitment to the technology. But yeah, the technology question will be good for him. Yep.
How far off the mark were you in terms of your idea from before you entered the program versus after? Like, did you feel like when you started the program, like, you had a good vision for your plan, and then at the end of it, then the Accelerator program helped you to get to that point where you actually realized your vision, or once you got to the end of the program, was your vision completely different for for what you were doing?
Yeah, good question. So the question was, how far off your plan were you from when you entered the program to when you finished the program? Did you completely revamp your entire business idea as a function of being a participant? In our particular case, we were not that far off. We were horrible at how we were articulating it, but our thesis remained pretty solid throughout the program. But that's not necessarily representative of all the teams, and Andy can talk to that a bit. I mean, there were individuals in the first day, maybe the first day, there was one team blew up, another team completely abandoned their idea, and miraculously figured out a path to success that has put them in good stead. So it is across the spectrum. Yes?
What's the typical range of size of teams that get involved?
Okay.
Generally 2 to 4 people.
That was the typical size of the range of the teams.
No,
For those of you in our
there
viewing
are
audience.
no single founders. If you're a single founder, find a teammate.
So what percentage of those 10 companies actually got funded?
8 out of 10.
What percentage of those 10
There are
companies
7,
actually got
let me change
funded?
that. There are 7 out of 10. I believe the number will be 8 out of 10 very soon.
Andy, repeat the question.
The question was, what is it?
No other questions? Yes.
Since this is tied to proprietary Microsoft hardware, how's this going to be different in terms of regular Techstars? How do you foresee it being different? Is it gonna, have you thought about that?
How is the program,
Let
okay,
it evolve.
so the question is, how is the program different than regular Techstars? So this is Microsoft's Kinect Accelerator powered by Techstars. So the mentor-driven approach that Techstars pioneered and has used now in several cities throughout the US is the approach we're gonna take. Some of the subtle differences are, 1, it's sponsored by a company, in this case Microsoft. 2, we're focused on a particular platform. Techstars typically will take anybody in any high-tech realm, whereas in this case, if your application or your solution doesn't leverage the Kinect, you're not eligible. The third thing is really about the mentors. So yes, we'll have the same types of mentors that a typical Techstars program would have, but we'll also have direct access and mentors from the source, in this case Microsoft, coming to help. Yeah?
Did you maintain a full-time job while doing this Kinect Accelerator program?
No. So the question was, can you maintain a full-time job while attending Kinect Accelerator? No, is the answer to the question. It's more than a full-time job. I mean, there were people that, so we're very clear, let me change that. In year 1, we stated it, and there were a couple people that tried to get creative about full-time jobs. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the individual, and it doesn't work for the program. And so it just, like in year 2, we were much more emphatic about the full-time commitment being required. And that places both a strain. I mean, I know financially it places a strain, but if you're gonna make your startup successful, it requires, and be in the Kinect Accelerator, it really requires a commitment level to the challenge, and the opportunity is to perform at a greater professional level with more effectiveness, more output, and accelerate faster during a 3-month period than you have in your normal life. And that you can't do that working a full-time job and doing it on the side.
Yes.
Is there anything you wish you had done to prepare before going in? So for example, if I'm gonna climb something, I train ahead of time. Is there something that you learned through that process that you would share with the rest of us?
So the question is there something I would have done ahead of time to prepare for the process? Yeah, I would have prepared my family better for the process and managed their expectations. But I was totally absent for 3 months, and I'm not alone. It puts a real strain on your life. So being prepared for that would have been anything from a business perspective. No, I don't think so.
I would just, the clearer you can be about what you're trying to set out to do, and the clearer you can be on paper with those things, I think really helps. I for sure would read Lean Startup and watch Steve Blank videos.
How'd you deal with workload management? I mean, going through the process, you're dealing with so many different things. Is there advice that you give us now to kind of like mentally prepare? How can you organize yourself through this process to better grasp what's going on and to use it?
Yeah. In hindsight, thank you. So the question was, how can you better prepare for workload management to address all that's going to be coming at you and perform at a high level, right? Okay. So I would say the one thing is effectiveness with your partner, your co-founder, and communication with your co-founder, because 1 + 1 really does need to equal more than 2 to get done what needs to get done. So being very communicative about goals and objectives, being very clear about who owns what. Like, my responsibility is this, your responsibility is this. So sometimes there's some dividing and conquering, and making sure that you're also sharing very candidly with your partner, hey, what's working, what isn't, how are we growing together? Because I think the only way you get through this program successfully is figuring out how to manage successfully with your co-founder, and not everybody does. And I would say that we struggled with that as well. And every time we met with Andy, he told us to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, team effectiveness, team effectiveness, team effectiveness. But I'm glad he did that.
So just an anecdote on that. I meet with the teams, as Dave will meet with the teams each week. One little trick that I learned was I literally asked the teams each week to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being highly, highly effective and 1 being not effective at all, suck it, to rate team effectiveness. And it was really interesting. I got 3 answers on a scale of 1 to 10. The teams that were laughing and having fun and like you could see it in their bodies would rate team effectiveness an 8. No 9s, no 10s. They rate an 8. The teams that were close to breaking up, in real trouble, would rate each other a 4. No 1s, 2s, or 3s, just 4. And everybody else was a 6. And so as long as I got an answer generally in the room of 6 or 8, I was fine. As soon as I heard 1, 4, I knew the team was at risk. Two out of the 10 teams, 1 broke up the first week, 1 broke up the week after. The #1 risk facing your company, whatever your business is internal combustion, right? That means team breakdown. That means poor communication. I don't like you anymore. I don't like the way you work. We don't communicate, et cetera, et cetera. It's whether you get into Techstars or not.
Kinect Accelerator.
Or Kinect Accelerator, if you get into either one, the #1 thing I would encourage you to do is get in the habit of asking your teammates, let's rate each other on a scale of 1 to 10 every week, because it just sort of becomes regular practice. And if someone all of a sudden goes, I'm not happy, and you have 3 to 4 months of data of 6 or 8, you're like, what, WTF?
We're on camera. Good catch.
There you go. So that's my tip, and I think it's really effective for all of you to use.
You guys, this is great advice. Accelerators or not, the 2 bits of great advice. You guys have been through it. Last question. Yeah.
I assume these 2 to 4 people don't have to be all technical or all business, right? You want to have a mix of both. What is the best ratio? Kinect is extremely technical, right? So what would you advise?
So the question is team composition. What's the right mix? All technical, all business, and the answer is there is no right answer. It's you want a highly effective team, and it needs at least 1 technical person. Generally speaking, Kinect Accelerator as well as Techstars will lean toward technical teams. So 2 technical people is fine, 2 technical people and 1 business person is fine, 1 and 1 is fine, 3 business people not fine.
Okay, I lied. I'll take 1 more question. Yeah.
If you've been running a business of your own, whether it's providing a service or anything, does progression through Kinect Accelerator, Techstars or anything like that, does that present a conflict at any point? I mean, I understand the part about full-time commitment and that, but just any legal, maybe that's something you talk to a lawyer about, but is there a legal ramification for engaging your new company, so to speak? Is there any conflicts, I guess, with that?
What I heard was you're running an existing business, and this is a business that you want, is your vehicle to apply to Kinect Accelerator? Or
A new one would be born, so to speak, in Kinect Accelerator.
Oh, got it. You may have some.
Fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Create a new company. Great. Yeah. Bonus question. Don't have any more free stuff to give out.
Nobody asked, how do you get in?
Yeah, how do you get in?
Nobody asked, how do you get in, and
What's your criteria to select the kind of company?
yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about, you want to talk about that?
Go ahead.
So the main when a final, I don't know the dates. When are the final apps?
8th, Wednesday.
Wednesday. So and then when do you let finalists know? The 20.
The chosen group will be notified on the 5th of March.
So, you know, application to do the 8th, time is tight. There are a lot, if you look around, there are a lot of people here. I'll just tell you that David and Jennifer and team have been traveling to Boston, San Francisco, New York, meeting similar sized, if not larger rooms. So I think enthusiasm and interest in the Kinect Accelerator powered by Techstars is high. It's in the order of hundreds of applications. I don't know if it's 200 or 500, but it's in that zone. So you need to stand out. How do you stand out? You're really succinct and clear about what you in your application, and then you engage in the process. And the way you engage in the process is by really engaging with David and Jennifer as well as the mentors of the program. So I don't know what avenues. I know David is having meetings tonight. Make sure you get the meeting tonight. If you don't get a meeting tonight, make sure you get 10 minutes with Dave another time. Like you gotta stand out, you gotta make your case, because there's hundreds of applicants and it's a really competitive program, and it's not, the best technology does not win. The passion, ability to take feedback, if Dave or some of the other mentors give you input, it's take that input and react to it. Say, hey, I thought about what you were saying and I totally disagree, right? Here's why I disagree, these 3 reasons. I love those emails. Or, like I had one meeting, and I'll tell you, this was probably the person who I think did the best job, Nick Soman from Lightbright in our last class of Techstars did this the best. And so he came to, I have an open coffee every Tuesday at Louise's, and he came and said, I want to get into Techstars. I was like, okay, what's your idea? He told me about his idea. I was like, that's a stupid idea. It was a stupid idea. Sorry, I'm pretty direct like that. It was like basically like matchmaking, trying to get a third party to forward emails to hook people up with dates. And I was like, the third party's that has no interest in trying to get you laid.
Paid.
Yeah, paid.
Right.
Paid. So I gave him that feedback, and I was like, how many customers have you spoken to? And he was like, well, and I could tell, like he sort of fudged the answer. I could tell the answer was none. So I was like, look, after you've spoken with 50 customers, and you think that that's still the right idea, if you don't believe me, go talk to 50 customers, come back and tell me what you learned and how your idea evolved. 2 days later, 48 hours later, he came and he had 50 surveys filled out. And as a result of that, he had totally changed his idea. And I was like, okay, this is a guy that I could work with. And from that point on, really, the entire 3 months, and I think he's really on, like when you actually dig into his product, he just engaged, he just applied Lean Startup really, really aggressively. And I think he has, the likelihood that he's successful continues to climb, which doesn't mean he will be. It just means his probability of being successful is going from 5% to maybe 40 or 50%. So that's what I mean. The way you get in is stand out and engage in the process. The way you engage with the process is engaging with the feedback from the mentors and the people running the program.
I'll add on to that. February 8th is the application deadline. You need to submit your applications by then if you haven't already. However, you can add notes, and you can continue to add notes as long as you would like to your applications. And we look for that. We look for progress, we look for people interested, we look for people emailing and communicating. We want to know how you're moving forward and that you're really focused on making this a successful venture. Last question. Yes?
Was that guy you just mentioned a single guy? Just one guy?
He got engaged during Techstars.
Was he a single guy or was he a single founder?
He was a single guy during the program. He had a team of 3, and he was one of the 2 teams that broke up. They dissolved. they were one of the, I think they were, next to Russell, they were one of the hottest presentations at Demo Day. They had a lot of investor interest. The week after Demo Day, they broke apart. I mean, they had trouble communicating during the program. He's regrouped, has a new technical co-founder, and is pressing ahead. And his product is pretty impressive, and he got engaged.
All right, we are eking into interview time and JP's time. I want to thank Andy and Russell for providing that. Amrelli? Yes? No, no Amrelli. 8:50 Sidco. 9 o'clock Rehab. Next. 9:10 Kinemotion.
Yep.
9:20 Dragon Corp. 9:30 Thea. I probably didn't say that right. 9:40 Vision Tech. 9:50 Dynamoid Apps. 10 o'clock Sports Trace.
We're local if you need to push.
No, I appreciate that actually. 10:10 Anamika. 10:20 Spark Inc.
Yeah.
And 10:30 Instadate. Yes. There's an 8:40 slot. Either one of you guys want to take the 8:40 slot? Rick?
I'll take it.
You'll take it? Rick will meet another time. Okay, so instead of Amrelli, it'll be Projector at that time. Thanks again.
Yeah, so I'm JP. I've been at Microsoft for about 10 years. Before that, I worked at 4 startups over an 8-year period, and then before that I was at Hewlett Packard. I've been in imaging for about 20 years, and just recently I've been in this group for about 3 months now. So the group is relatively new. I'm one of the old hands in the group, but it's taken off really quick. It's amazing. We just finished the tour of the East Coast. And like Dave said, we've had packed rooms, and people are building amazing apps. So what I want to do tonight, I want to make sure you leave here understanding very specifically what that hardware is, very specifically what the SDK is and how it works, and then how to engage and how to get things going in that regard. I'm really interactive, so just when you have questions, throw up your hand, and we can move that way, or we can save questions for the end as well. So let's just move along. Thank you very much for your tweeting. People have tweeted. I saw a lot of stuff about internal combustion and how companies blow up. I thought that was funny. I saw some stuff on how to be successful, and everybody said they wanted to go meet with Dave. And then I saw a bunch of stuff about sex. I thought that was weird, but I guess they had part of the conversation was about sex. So I don't know what my business colleagues are going to think when they look at the Twitter feed tomorrow, but. That's what I was looking for. I want to make sure you guys are engaged, and also we want to make sure that we give these things away. So go and tweet up to Kinect Windows, and that will get you going. So who here has played with a 360 sensor? More than half. That's awesome. So the one thing I'll say, you've probably seen some of the posts and things that I put up online. This sensor here is quite similar to the 360 sensor, so I'll talk about the differences. The camera itself is 1280 by 960, so it's got higher bit depth RGB camera. The cable is shorter, so what that gets you from a Windows programming perspective is sort of less noise and the ability to get sort of smoother skeletons and things of that nature. I'll show you that as well. It has higher bit depth for the depth sensor as well, so you can do 640 by 480. And I'll spin my propeller for a second. It is somewhat interpolated, so 320 by 240 is almost as good as the data that you're going to get back by on 640 by 480. It's app dependent, so I would encourage you all to play with both of those. Obviously, 640 by 480 requires a lot of CPU. This thing is just a bunch of sensors. It actually has a USB bus in there, so when you plug it in, it bleeps 4 or 5 times. So when the thing that's important about that, there's no processing on here. So this little cable has a lot of data that's transmitting over the cable. That's important because then when you think about what's happening on the computer, all of the calculations and things of that nature are actually happening on the CPU as well. So while you can hook up 4 of those to one machine, each pretty much has to have its own USB controller because the Kinect sensor takes about 50% of the bandwidth. So that's important to note as you think about how are you going to do the app? How are you going to build the apps that you want to build? You know, there's people that are building, 360-degree systems, and so you'll actually set one here, one here, one here, and one here, and then have them look out. So the field of view here is 70 degrees, edge to edge. So you conceivably get almost 360. Or there's other people that want to do, when you're walking up a field, because the range is only 4 meters, so it's 80 centimeters to 4 meters, or in near mode, 30 centimeters to 3 meters. To my Canadian friends, they understand what I'm talking about when I talk meters. I don't know why we don't have it in feet. I talk meters all the time. So, but anyway, so you have near mode, you get 40 centimeters to 3 meters, or the regular mode is 80 centimeters to 4 meters, and I'll show you that. But if you wanted to walk up the field, you could have 4 sort of stacked in a row as well. So when you think about your architecture, you don't have to think about just one. You can put, up to 4 is what we've tested, which means you could probably put more as well. But I would encourage you also to think about how you could use extra ones as well. After all, we're in the hardware business. So the specific things that I wanted to show you is a couple things. One, I wanted to show you what you get when you download the SDK. So on February 1st, we announced connectforwindows.com. You can go and download the SDK, and essentially what you get is you get the ability to talk directly to this thing through our stack, and I'm going to show you that now. So we built sort of this SDK sample browser, and what it is just a bunch of sample apps, and you can look at the C# stuff, the Meta stuff, or the C++ stuff, and we give you the sample code for all of this stuff as well. So when you go and scroll through, you can see there's a bunch of different examples in here. And the one that I think is the easiest to show is Kinect Explorer, because it shows literally everything. So when I wrote my first Hello World, what I did is, of course I didn't write it, I used the code that was in here. And I looked at how do I actually get the RGB feed. And so the code in here actually shows how you can get the RGB feed as well as the depth feed. And the way you actually toggle this stuff on and off is you just click on the bottom, and what it does is it shows sort of how you can actually access the sensors in the device. So this is RGB, which is called color stream, and you can see there's different resolutions in there. So you can go up to 1280 by 960. The thing I didn't mention, that's only 12 frames a second. So if you want to get higher frame rates, you'll stick down to 640 by 480. Then there's the depth stream, and the way to think about this, we might want to, I guess we can't do the lights, but the way to think about this depth sensor here is the closer you get to the sensor, the more the color changes. So as I'm going 80 centimeters here, you can see I'm getting near proximity. And then when I'm in regular mode, as I get closer than 40 centimeters, it knows that you're closer than 40 centimeters, but it doesn't exactly give you the depth back. And sometimes that happens, so you have to like. So seriously, that's going to happen in your code. So when that happens, what you need to do here for the skeleton stream, it says, how do you want to actually track your skeletons? What a lot of people do is they don't track all the skeletons. They say, just track the closest one. So here you can actually just lock onto the closest player, or you can lock onto one player. So there's people that are building game apps, and when you first walk up to it, it locks onto you. It never leaves you, so it never forgets about you until you walk out of the frame. And you can see here, this shows when you're walking out of the frame. So like in this code, we show when I'm at the edge or when I'm flipping on the bottom or on the sides as well. So you actually get those that data back as well. Yes?
How many skeletons can you track at the same time?
So you can track 6 bodies, but only 2 skeletons. So and the way this was built, we ported it from Xbox. You think about how this actually works. Xbox only ever needed 2 skeletons. So our quickest time to market was giving you 2 skeletons, but we also keep track of 6 people in the room. And so, and then you have infinite data. Like this sensor can actually track the volume of the room right now. So if you wanted to get into the gnarly, depth data, you could also do that.
But are those raw data available in this SDK?
The raw data, yeah. Yep. So if you're not getting what you want from skeleton, you just, because the way it works, you get 640 by 480, and each one of those pixels is 16 bits. The first 3 bits is the player, and the last 13 bits is the depth in millimeters. So you can go and rip that apart, and there's a lot of people that are building Because you think about it, sometimes you want the skeleton, but a lot of times you want to actually track, 3D scan or figure out what's happening or recognize an object or do all sorts of other things. So, it's actually a lot harder to do depth stuff, but it makes the barrier to entry in that particular market also harder. So,
in terms of the tracking resolution, is that fair to say it's the pixel resolution for the lateral or also the depth side? The lateral resolution and the depth resolution.
So depth is in millimeters, and then lateral is whatever that.
Yeah, the pixel occupies the space in that lateral.
Well, it's this one is 640 by 4. I'm not sure I understand the question.
The dimension divided by the number of pixels.
Yes.
That's the
Yep.
lateral.
So it's either three. So the question is, essentially, how does the lateral work? And so you can either get 60 by 80, 320 by 240, or 640 by 480. And yeah, this is exactly the data that you get back in the depth mode. So, yeah, question?
What's the max FPS?
In depth, you can, I'll show you. So here, it's 30 frames a second at 320 by 240, and at 640 by 480, it's 30 frames a second. There's some latency. I would encourage you to test this as well. The easiest app to write is a green screen app, and we're actually going to be shipping sample code for a green screen app. Because imagine here, this is my body mask, and so you actually just clip out the body mask, overlay it with the player. So the RGB data overlays with the body mask, and then you just off-channel the rest of the stuff out and put in the background whatever you want to have in the background. What you'll notice, and the thing that you'll find is the skeleton data that comes back and the depth data that comes back is not exactly in correspondence with the RGB data. And so that's a bug that I just want to be honest about it. That's something that we've noticed. So the latency when you're doing things like green screen, the RGB doesn't exactly overlay with the depth data that you're getting back. So first of all, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
What's that red line about?
So that's when it's clipping. So remember I was saying, like, if I go over to the edge here, I'm clipping off of the edge. So you can determine if a player goes out of field. We call it clipping. Question back there?
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple times about skeleton data. Maybe you could sort of explain at a high level what that is, what kind of data.
So the way, sorry, I kind of jumped right past that. I've been doing this too much, I apologize. The way skeleton works is it actually extracts from the body data here, and it figures out, okay, what are the 20 points in a person that you want to be able to track? So there's 20, the elbow joints and the hand joints, and if you want to just do calculations with the skeleton, to be able to figure out if I'm waving or to be able to figure out if I'm jumping, you get the wrist and the elbow and the shoulder, and then you can do the math there. So we actually do the centroid point from the depth data here, and we do those extra calculations to give you that skeleton data back, because we think a common scenario is for people to interact with people on the screen. So here, when I have my hand up and it has that skeleton that data point right there, it actually is giving you programmatically the XYZ for my center of my hand, my center of my wrist, and then you can show it doing motions like that. So does that answer that question? Yep.
Can you track the fingers?
No. The question was, can you track fingers? And the answer is not today. So an RGB, yes, but it actually just tracks the center of the hand there. Yep.
Have you solved the problem of it having errors when you're sideways to the camera, or is it always still assuming you're facing it?
So 30 degrees is the best, the absolute best scenario is right in front of the camera, looking straight into it. It has access to your full body. Because you'll notice what it's actually doing here is when, see these joints here, it actually, when I get closer to it, they actually fade away. That means it doesn't have a high probability those are actually my legs. And so we are telling it graphically there. And then when I go away from sort of more than 30 degrees off, you'll see some of the joints actually become less confident that they're actually joints. And so this is the best mode to be in. And then programmatically, you need to smooth it out and do your analysis based on the program that you're writing.
Can it track a body lying on the ground doing things?
Lying down is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hasn't been solved yet?
not easily, not without depth.
Hey JP.
Yeah?
Just one thing from all three of those questions are things that the teams at Microsoft Studios are working on and have, I'll call them, creative solutions around. So JP's absolutely right. You walk in, you kind of try with what's there. There's certain things, but the benefit of the program is that you'll get people who've been wrestling with those problems. You've seen finger tracking. It's not perfect. It's not on the platform yet. You've seen things like laying on the ground and what you can do to get pretty darn close as we think about titles like fitness and healthcare. So a big part of this is the best practices, things we've learned in studios, complementing what's there in the SDK. So absolutely right on where we are. There's some help, let's say, in the wings if you get into the accelerator to help you with that.
So will that be showing up in the SDK?
Over time, yes. How quickly it gets there is a function of how we work with the platform team and the Connect for Windows team. Okay. You guys get access, people in the accelerator get access to this stuff a little bit early, which is a fun thing.
So you mentioned your accuracy of depth is millimeters. What is your accuracy of some of these joints, like the head, in depth and in horizontal and vertical?
You mean within varying degrees?
So in the field of view of the camera in a 3D space, how accurately can you identify the position with respect to the focal point of the camera?
You know, actually, I don't know the exact answer. It depends on, because if you're looking at 15, or sorry, if you're looking at 320 by 240, it would be different than 640 by 480. But I don't think like your answer was really precise mathematically.
Right.
I don't know if I know the answer to that. Yep.
How close is the API to what you get on the Xbox?
Quite similar. Quite similar. So they're like, we call our skeletons players, as an example.
Okay.
And a lot of the
But we'll make an
functionality.
abstraction layer if we want to target both then.
Are you writing stuff both on the Xbox and on the PC?
Yeah, that's our goal.
Okay, we should chat later. Because there's some interesting stuff happening in that regard as well. Yep.
How far can you drill down into the code if I wanted to rewrite the skeleton tracking for horses?
If you want, so you get access to the depth. The way all this stuff is done is through depth. And so if you wanted to, other people, as an example, military needs to be able to track some very specific things that aren't covered off in this, and so they need to recognize, weapons, what type of weapon, that kind of stuff. And so they are using depth in this case.
Right.
And so in your horse case, you would, because it can't track animals or that kind of stuff, unless you're doing depth, then you would just then programmatically build that as well.
Right.
You were saying it tracks 6 bodies with 2 skeletons. How much control do you have over which skeletons it's following?
So this is what I was showing before. In the skeleton tracker here, you've got, what you do is either you track the closest, or you lock on to 1 or 2, or they have this sort of algorithm that says most active as well. So what most people are doing, I'm finding, especially for Windows programming, is sticky. So imagine you're in a shopping mall, you walk past a Kinect sensor that wants to show you in sort of green screen environment or motion, show you as Ronald McDonald as an example. It would lock onto you, and then it would, because you wouldn't want it to have to show other people and stuff like that, so it would use sticky 1 or sticky 2. That's what I find most people are doing. Yep.
So depth is defined as different colors on that screen, or 2 cameras, parallel cameras, you get depth defined as like yeah.
Let me just turn off everything but depth. And so I think we changed. So I apologize. I just installed the new build today. What it used to be was the different colors showed how far away things were. And in this one here, all it's just showing is if it's getting too close. So you could, it's actually really easy to write code to show it, like as it gets farther away, you crank up the alpha channel. And so then it, here it's actually quite dark, and here, because you can actually detect, sort of by millimeter. So that's, I think, the better way to show it actually. You could also do things with heat maps. So, if you wanted to have it be red when it's closer. So we're actually playing around with those sorts of things to show users, because people don't really get depth. And it's really hard to sort of do that. So we're looking at either colors or, alpha channel transparency stuff.
What's the
contrast requirement for the sensor to detect?
So the depth can be in the dark, because it's, but the RGB obviously, you need to have light to check to do the RGB. But you can do anything you can do depth-wise in the dark, because it's infrared, so it does all that stuff. Now it's hard to see, but yeah.
So would you also release the interface to the MATLAB on that view, those third-party development tools?
So that's a really good lead into my next thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just show a quick demo. What we've been doing, I run this thing called the Testing and Adoption Program. And I'm working with about 400 companies to get them early access to the software. So we launched on the 1st, but we have about, I'd say hundreds of apps that are in the works, and we've got about 10 or 20 that are already out and deployed at retail and various places as well. There's one app that has to do with what you're talking about, which allows you to be able to do some motion capture stuff. And so I'm going to show that, and then I'll jump back into the SDK here for a second as well. The app itself is called iClone. It's by a company called Reallusion. And when I show it, you'll see sort of how it works. So essentially, it allows you to be able to do puppeteering, motion capture type stuff. And so the way to think about it is this is like Photoshop with some movie making capability in 3D. So the user interface is not for the faint of heart, but it's actually a really cool app once you play with it. And the thing to note is that it used to take hours and days to be able to build this sort of stuff, and now with Kinect you can actually just easily put it together. So what I'm going to do is find a character. This is my kid's favorite one, and I'll pop them in there. And then essentially what you do is you go and fire up the motion capture app, and this is something that they just put together really quick. And so then what it does is it takes a little while to register you to figure out where you are, so you have to go through this process of registering. Once it's done that, then I can go in and actually select my guy. I'm going to just rotate it around a little bit. And I'll go into animation, hit device mocap, and hit connect. And then here, I have to move it off to the side a little bit. Then it says, I can select preview. So it's being designed to allow me to control this whole motion capture experience by not being at the PC. And so I can just select preview. And then you see that it allows me to be able to do all the stuff that I want to do. And so it's easy to record. So I can actually record all of the gestures that he's doing and build it, export it, do the things that you're talking about. Now the really cool thing about this software, it took me about 90 minutes to be able to create a puppet, an avatar that looked like me. So you take your face, put it over a 3D mesh, and then import it in. And they also have the capability, moonwalk. They also have the capability to be able to import a voice clip and then have your lips move with that as well. So that currently doesn't have anything to do with the Kinect technology. However, in the TAP program, we have this notion of face tracking SDK, which tracks 87 points on the face. And so for those of you that want to know more about that, I can talk a little bit about that after this as well. But I want to show one specific one that I created when we launched. This was the one that took me about 60 minutes to put together. So I creatively called it JPW5. So you can see there I was a jumble of joints, but what I'm going to do is go back into Let's see if I can get this to work. I put a soundtrack in the background. Oh. Hello and good afternoon. This is J.P. Wallerstein from Microsoft. Today is January 31st. This historic eve where Microsoft launches our breakthrough new product, Kinect for Windows. Whether you're educating students, training employees, manufacturing products are supplying countless other options. You think I feel weird doing this?
No, very good.
What will you develop? Come see more at www.connectforwindows.com. Thanks, and have a great
We started with a sensor that turned voice and movement into magic.
Xbox, play.
We thought this would be fun to play with, and it was. But something amazing is happening. The world is starting to imagine things we hadn't even thought of. Unexpected things. Hopeful things. Beautiful things. Inspired things. Which is why, even though the world keeps asking us what we'll do with Kinect next, we're just as excited to ask the world the same thing.
So I don't know if you've seen that commercial, but that's, it's easy to turn that into 3D as well. So it's real fun to play with the software. They offer a discount. You can check that out on our site as well. And that's it. If you want to ask questions after, I'll be here all night. All right, I'm going to mispronounce the name. Is Andrew Gilgallion here? Congratulations. Thank you. All right.
Dance. Interpretive dance.
I think that's you told me like science
Karen Bishop? Is Karen Bishop here? All right. Thank you, guys.